Among the Comanche, earning one's blood rights was not merely a rite of passage, but an unshakable tradition intricately tied to their cultural identity. For young warriors, shedding blood, both in the hunt and in battle, was essential to attaining the status of manhood. This cultural mandate was as enduring as the sunrises over the Texas plains, passed down through generations and woven into the fabric of their daily lives. It wasn't just tradition, it was an unspoken law, upheld and revered by every member of the tribe. For centuries, this warlike culture positioned the Comanche as one of the most formidable indigenous groups in North America. Their unyielding spirit and mastery of mounted combat created a barrier that effectively stalled Western migration for decades. As settlers pushed into the fringes of Comanche, the vast territory claimed by the Comanche, conflicts erupted, leaving trails of bloodshed and sorrow. Entire families were wiped out and settlements burned. By some accounts, hundreds of settlers lost their lives annually, and thousands were taken captive over the decades, their fates sealed in the heart of the vast plains. Amid this tumultuous period, the raid on Elm Creek in 1864 stands as a grim reminder of the Comanche's power and the harrowing reality of frontier life. This raid, meticulously planned and devastatingly executed, became one of the largest and most violent in the years preceding the decline of the Comanche's dominance. To understand the significance of the Elm Creek slaughter, we must first explore the events and conditions that led to it, a changing world for the Comanche. The 1850s marked a pivotal period for the Comanche. For the first time since their mastery of the horse transformed them into an unstoppable force, they found themselves on the defensive. The relentless expansion of American settlers into their homeland brought challenges, unlike any they had faced before. Texans in particular proved to be far more formidable adversaries than the Spanish. The adoption of Comanche-style mounted warfare by the Texas Rangers, coupled with technological advancements like the Colt revolver, leveled the playing field. Disease also ravaged the Comanche during this time, further weakening their bands. Smallpox and cholera spread through the southern plains, decimating populations and leaving entire villages desolate. For some groups, the despair grew so profound that they began to consider walking the white man's road. This phrase, utterly loathsome to many, Comanche referred to settling down, practicing agriculture and abandoning their nomadic, warlike ways for the young warriors. Such a life was inconceivable, even detestable. Farming was seen as the occupation of cowards, unworthy of those who prided themselves on their prowess as hunters and fighters. Even so, the American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, temporarily shifted the balance of power in favor of the Comanche, with thousands of Texan men conscripted to fight in the war. The frontier was left woefully undefended. Settlers who had once relied on military outposts and the Texas Rangers for protection were now exposed to the full wrath of the Comanche. The borderlands became a lawless expanse, where raids increased in frequency and ferocity. By 1863, historian T. Fehrenbach noted, many northwestern counties were under virtual siege. The lead up to Elm Creek by 1864, the Comanche had regained much of their confidence. The once vigilant frontier had become a shadow of its former self, with settlers retreating eastward en masse. The Comanche took full advantage of this vulnerability, launching bold raids that left death and destruction in their wake. Little Buffalo, one of the few remaining Comanche war chiefs, decided it was time for a large-scale raid that would cement his warriors' dominance and fulfill their blood rights. For the Comanche war was a sacred endeavor, governed by tradition and spiritual guidance. Little Buffalo would have sought a sign from the spirits before gathering his war party. Perhaps he prayed to the eagle spirit, seeking a vision or an omen. Whatever the sign, it convinced him and his warriors that their medicine, spiritual power, was strong enough to ensure victory. War dances were held in preparation, a rare but deeply significant ceremony in Comanche culture. Around a roaring fire, warriors painted their faces black, the color of death, and chanted battle cries. Their women gathered in a circle around them, cheered with fervent enthusiasm, heightening the warriors' resolve. These rituals reinforced their unity and purpose, solidifying their determination to succeed. The war party departed under the cover of darkness, guided by the silvery glow of the Comanche moon. Each warrior brought multiple horses to ensure their mounts stayed fresh during the grueling raid. Their destination, the unsuspecting settlement along Elm Creek. The slaughter at Elm Creek. On the crisp morning of October 13, 1864, the settlers of Elm Creek began their day, as they always did, tending to their homes and fields. Unbeknownst to them, Little Buffalo and his war party of hundreds had arrived, concealed by the dense cross timbers near the Brazos River. The first to encounter the Comanche were a father and his 2 sons, armed but unprepared for such an onslaught. They fled into the woods, though killing them would have been easy. The Comanche avoided unnecessary casualties early in the raid, preferring to maintain their strength and momentum. Others were not as fortunate. Mr. Myers, a settler near Fort Belknap, was out searching for escaped livestock when he was overtaken by the war party. Overwhelmed, he was killed and scalped, his lifeless body left as a grim warning. The Fitzpatrick household was next. As the war party approached, a white woman emerged with a rifle, screaming and firing a shot that either missed or deflected off a buffalo hide shield. Her bravery was met with a swift and brutal response. Warriors swarmed her, filling her body with arrows before scalping her. Inside the house, 3 women and 5 children were taken captive. Stripped and bound to horses, one 12-year-old boy was fought over by 2 warriors, each claiming him as a prize. Unable to settle their dispute, they killed the boy to deny each other the trophy. This merciless efficiency characterized the Elm Creek raid. From the Fitzpatrick house, the war party moved westward, growing bolder with each success. At the Hamby household, however, they met their first real resistance. Resistance and retaliation. Thornton Hamby, a Confederate soldier on leave, and his father stood their ground against the approaching warriors. Armed and on horseback, they strategically fired their weapons, ensuring one was always loaded, to prevent the Comanche from rushing them. This tactical prowess bought them precious time. But the sheer number of attackers forced them to retreat to the Bragg Ranch. The Bragg Ranch, a fortified 2-room cabin, became the focal point of the raid. As the Hamby and a few others barricaded themselves inside, the Comanche launched a relentless assault. Gunfire erupted and arrows rained down, but the settlers inside fought with desperate determination. Women reloaded rifles while the men fired, knowing capture would mean torture and death. Amid the chaos, Little Buffalo himself joined the fray, demonstrating his bravery to inspire his warriors. But the tide turned when he was struck down by a bullet. For the Comanche, the death of a war chief was a devastating blow, a sign that their medicine had failed. Without it, they believed the spirits would no longer protect them. Reluctantly, they abandoned the attack and retreated. The aftermath in Legacy. The retreat of the war party was swift and deliberate, as was customary, splitting into smaller groups. They carried their loot, prisoners and stolen horses back to Comanche. Avoiding pursuit along the way, they encountered other settlers, like Mr. McCoy and his son, who were killed and scalped in their villages. The spoils of the raid were celebrated. Scalps were displayed as trophies, and captives were either integrated into the tribe or subjected to brutal treatment. The raid at Elm Creek became a symbol of the Comanche's enduring strength, even as their way of life faced extinction. Yet it also marked the beginning of the end. The boldness of the Elm Creek raid provoked a strong response from Texan settlers, and the U.S. government military campaigns intensified, targeting Comanche strongholds with relentless force. Within 2 decades, the once mighty Comanches were confined to reservations, their dominance reduced to a memory. Reflection on the Elm Creek raid. The slaughter at Elm Creek encapsulates the complex and tragic dynamics of the American frontier for the Comanche. It was a demonstration of their resilience and adherence to tradition in the face of overwhelming change. For the settlers, it was a nightmare that underscored the fragility of their existence. On contested land, the raid also highlights the stark cultural divide between the Comanche and the settlers. What the Comanche viewed as a necessary assertion of strength and honor, the settlers saw as an act of savagery. These differing worldviews made conflict inevitable, with devastating consequences for both sides. Today, the Elm Creek raid serves as a sobering reminder of the human cost of expansion and the enduring spirit of a people determined to defend their way of life. While the Comanche no longer roam the plains, their legacy remains etched in the history of the American West, a testament to their indomitable will and the harsh realities of survival on the frontier.